You left your phone screen down on the kitchen counter 3 hours ago. There is one message you have not answered. It is not an emergency. It is not a deadline. It is simply a question about next month, a plan someone wants to make, a decision they are waiting for you to help with, and every time you think about picking up the phone, your chest tightens a little. Not because the question is hard. Because the future it points toward feels too large to hold right now. So the phone stays where it is, and you move through the evening with that small weight sitting just behind your thoughts. This is what happens when worry about the future turns into a kind of waiting for the right feeling, the right clarity, the right moment when the future will somehow feel less uncertain. But the future never arrives feeling smaller. And the message stays unanswered, not because you do not care, but because you are trying to control something that cannot be controlled from where you stand. There is an old piece of wisdom that speaks directly to this feeling. It does not come from a motivational poster or a self-help seminar. It comes from a tradition that spent centuries studying how human beings survive uncertainty without collapsing under the weight of it. The Stoics, those ancient thinkers who lived through plagues and exiles and the collapse of empires, understood that most of our suffering does not come from the events themselves. It comes from the way we try to manage the future before it arrives. They taught that the mind can only work well when it knows what belongs to it and what does not. And the future, no matter how much we rehearse it, no matter how many plans we make, does not belong to us. Not yet. Not ever, really. What belongs to us is only this: how we meet the present moment, how we choose to think about what is in front of us, and what we do with the small space of action we actually have. Epictetus, a teacher who spent much of his life as a slave before becoming one of the most respected philosophers in Rome, used to tell his students something that sounds almost too simple at first. He said that we should learn to separate what is up to us from what is not up to us. And once we make that separation clearly, we should put all our care into the first category and stop exhausting ourselves over the second. The message on your phone asks about next month. Next month is not up to you. Whether that plan will happen, whether the circumstances will be right, whether you will feel the way you hope to feel, none of that is up to you. What is up to you is whether you answer the message tonight. What is up to you is whether you speak honestly about what you know now, today, in this moment. That is the only door you can actually walk through. But here is where it gets tricky. Because we have been trained, most of us, to believe that worrying about the future is the same thing as preparing for it. We think that if we turn the problem over enough times in our minds, if we imagine every outcome and every contingency, we will somehow arrive at certainty. We will feel ready. We will feel safe. And so we sit with the question, waiting for that readiness to arrive, and the phone stays face down on the counter. The truth is, readiness does not come from rehearsing the future. It comes from practicing the present. It comes from learning to answer the small question in front of you without demanding that the answer solve every question that might follow. The Stoics would say that wisdom is not about seeing further into the fog. It is about walking steadily in the few feet of clarity you have. Let me tell you about someone I knew years ago, not a student but a colleague, someone who worked in the same quiet office building where I used to teach evening classes. She was the kind of person who kept lists. Not just task lists, but future lists, plans for summer, plans for retirement, plans for conversations she had not yet had. She once told me, over tea in the break room, that she could not enjoy anything fully because she was always managing what came next. A birthday dinner was not a birthday dinner, it was a mental rehearsal for the thank you note she would need to write, the follow-up plans she would need to make, the expectations she would need to meet. She said it felt like living with a low hum of worry that never quite turned off. And the strangest part, she said, was that none of it helped. The future still surprised her. The plan still changed. But the worry stayed constant. What she was describing is not unusual. It is what happens when we confuse attention with control. We think that if we keep our attention on the future, we will somehow be able to steer it. But attention does not work that way. Attention is not a tool for controlling what has not happened yet. It is a tool for meeting what is here now. And when we use it to chase the future, we lose the only power we actually have, the power to respond clearly, kindly, and honestly to the moment in front of us. The message on your phone does not need a perfect answer. It needs an honest one. And an honest answer can only come from where you are right now, not from where you hope to be next month. There is a line of thinking in Stoic philosophy that might sound a little strange at first, but it is worth sitting with. The idea is this: the future does not exist. Not in the way we think it does. It is not a place we are traveling toward. It is not a script already written. It is only a series of present moments that have not yet arrived. And when they do arrive, they will not arrive as the future. They will arrive as now. Which means the only thing we are ever asked to meet is now. Not next month. Not next year. Just this moment, and then the next one, and then the next. The anxiety we feel about the future is not really about the future at all. It is about trying to live in a moment that does not exist yet, and exhausting ourselves in the attempt. So what do we do instead? We practice what the Stoics called returning to what is ours. We ask, very simply, what is mine to do right now? Not tomorrow. Not in the best case scenario or the worst case scenario. Right now. The answer is almost always smaller than we expect. Pick up the phone. Read the message. Write 3 honest sentences. Send them. That is all. The rest, the outcome, the reaction, the way the plan unfolds, is not yours to carry. And when you put down what is not yours, you will find that what remains is not heavy. It is just clear. Just steady. Just enough. This does not mean we stop planning. It does not mean we become careless or passive. It means we stop asking our plans to deliver certainty. We stop asking our worry to function as preparation. We let the future remain what it is, unknown, unfinished, not yet ours, and we give our full attention to the only place where we have any real power. Here. Now. The message you have not answered does not need you to predict the future. It needs you to be honest about the present. And that honesty, small as it is the only kind of control that does not break us. I think one of the hardest things about living with anxiety is that it convinces us we are being responsible. It tells us that worry is a form of care, that rehearsing disaster is a form of readiness, that holding every possible outcome in our minds at once is a form of wisdom. But it is not. It is just exhaustion dressed up as diligence. Real responsibility is quieter. It is answering the question you can answer. It is doing the small thing that is actually yours to do. It is trusting that you do not need to carry the whole future in order to meet it well when it comes. Here is something you can take with you tonight: you do not need to solve next month in order to answer today. So let the phone rest where it is for a moment longer. Not because you are avoiding it, but because you are learning to meet it differently. When you pick it up, you will not be picking up the future. You will be picking up this moment. And this moment is small enough to hold. This moment has space for honesty, for kindness, for a few clear words that do not promise more than you know. That is all the future ever asks of us, not certainty, not perfection, Just the willingness to meet it one honest moment at a time. And that, you already know how to do. You have been doing it all along. Tonight, let that be enough. Let the rest stay where it belongs, out of your hands, out of your chest, and out of the quiet room where you are learning, slowly, to rest.